Hello, good day, everybody. So this is PL John Maria once again, representing Neurodev Coach, here for our homeschool consultancy case management program. And today we're going to discuss about starting homeschool. Now, obviously, starting homeschool in and of itself is a topic that's like most people, when they get to this point about starting homeschooling with their child who's neurodivergent, often starts from a place of overwhelm. And believe me, and I speak for myself and my wife as well, I've been there, in that place of overwhelm. And if you also come from that place of overwhelm, this video is for you. So I made this video as short as possible. Hopefully it'll be about just 10 minutes long. I only have 10 slides on this video, but it will contain all the basic information that you need to start with your homeschool journey with your neurodivergent child. So just content, to go through the content of what we'll be going through today. First, we'll start with the overview, then we'll talk about the curriculum, and then we'll talk about how to gather that data, specific to the academic records, your tests, and exams of your child, and as well as some of the book choices that you could have, as well as some pre-work and as well as scheduling, right? The specifics of what will apply to your family will be discussed, of course, in one of our coaching sessions. All right. The first thing I'd like to say is that you might be surprised, but when you look at a schedule, right, it should be at first look quite light to you if you're a first time homeschooler, right? Especially when you come from a conditioning where you go to school 8 hours a day and you went through subjects 1 hour each. You might be asking the question, is this really it? Is this all I need to do to go through what my child needs academically to make it and do well, in college and all of that? In a previous video that you watched, you saw that the evidence does support the fact that people who are homeschooled do better. So it might surprise you to know that a light schedule that looks like this, you can pause the video and take a look at it, about just a maximum, and I mean a maximum. Most of the time with my 7-year-old daughter, I spend like 30 minutes a day homeschooling her. A lot of the things that she does would be stuff on her own. I call it independent work time. And it might surprise you. And this is why that is. And if you look at what's in bold here, this is because homeschooling emphasizes independent learning, quick academic sessions, and integration of lessons with many real life situations. That's probably the most important thing. Okay? So when we talk about just the intentional amount of time focusing on the requirements, it should be about a maximum of 2 hours for younger levels and 3 hours for higher levels. And I'm talking seventh grade and up would be a maximum of 3 hours. And I say 3 hours very conservatively. I still think that it's a little much actually. All right. And just to summarize things a little bit, in short, you do short bursts of intentional academic work, but everything you do together as a family, as a unit, is part of homeschooling, right? So homeschooling is not just about the sit down academic work that you will be doing with your child, but rather seizing moments that you have with your child on a daily basis and seeing how they can benefit from that, how you can document that, and how you can credit that as a homeschool output. So everything from travel to reading to watching a movie, trips to the bank or the grocery can be counted as homeschooling moments if, once you understand how this works. Okay? First and foremost, we have to address the curriculum part of the concern, because we do have to follow certain standards that are set by the Department of Education. Okay? The current Department of Education based curriculum, which we call Matatag, is found on this link, right? Or, if you want something easy, you can type this prompt into your preferred AI app like ChatGPT or Gemini. Just show me the Department of Education Matatag curriculum for grade 4 or grade 5 or something like that, and they'll show you. Right? And under the Matatag curriculum, there are basically 8 subjects. And I'm calling them here by maybe labels that might be familiar to everybody. So, the subjects I'm sure most people here would be familiar with if they went through schooling in the Philippines. would be Math, English, Science, AP or Araling Panlipunan, or in English, Social Sciences. And then you have Filipino, MAPE, which is basically physical education combined with the arts and music, right? GMRC would be values education, right? And then there's now a pre-vocational component, right? Which they call TLE, but I just call it pre-voc, just to make it a little bit easy. So here's the deal. You have to go through 8 different subjects, right? Now, each person here who opts in with our default homeschool provider, which is PLC or Pilgrim Learning Center, will receive a Google Sheets document that you can edit. And the only requirement for you when it comes to compliance with the curriculum end of things is this. It's pretty simple. 3 small outputs, which you will put a score here, and 1 big output that which we'll put here per quarter, and provide a grade for each one. Okay, so as you can see here, this is an actual sheet that I have from Jordan, and the subject here, I'm not even sure what subject this is, but there will be a tab for each subject here, and you will see that each subject will contain you can do like maybe 10, a maximum of 10 outputs here and 10 outputs here, but all we're actually required is to do 3 small outputs on the written works and 1 big output on their performance task, right? I opted to score these out of 10, and I opted to score these out of 100. You will do this for every subject, okay? Every quarter, yep. And the one who provides the grade will be you as the parent, and that's where the homeschooling component comes in. Now, for some of you, you might think, that's not so bad. And some of you might think, that seems like a lot of work. Well, there's a little bit more that I'd like to tell you as we move forward with this. You know, here are some, before we do it, here are actually some sample components, right? As you can see here in the above video, this is Jordan doing Aikido with me. So I just brought her along Aikido. This counts as PE. This is counts as a big task. And then you see here Jordan taking a trip with me to Cartimar. You know, I'm a big aquarium guy, in case you guys didn't notice here, right? And she's doing a presentation on it because she did a book review on a children's book I wrote about taking care of aquariums. So basically, these things that we were able to document through a simple video phone already counts towards the big tasks, right? This picture, as you can see here, would count towards vocational when we made mochi during New Year's Eve. It counts towards Araling Panlipunan because she's half Japanese. I mean, she has Japanese blood, and that's a Japanese cultural thing that we do every year. I'm half Japanese myself. I went out on a date with Jordan, which counts towards science. These are just pictures of math worksheets. This is her Bible journal. This is a bunch of drawings for science where she drew the different types of energy, from electrical energy to light energy and mechanical energy. Basically, if you are documenting these things, okay, then you already have an output and you can just rate them, no? The important principle here to remember is that each and every one of these tasks can actually double. So for example, this big task right here, right, can, because it is a book report, part of a book report presentation, it satisfies a requirement for English, but it also satisfies a requirement for science because it's biology, right? These are aquarium fish, but it also satisfies. It could also satisfy for vocational outputs because this is about, breeding fish and selling fish and things like that. So you can use that same output and actually input that same score under a big task, pretty much, right? And that's sort of the beauty of homeschool, because the truth is life is integrated. When we learn subjects in an integrated way, in a holistic way, we see that we hit so many things with just one thing. And that's how life is, like when we go to work, we communicate with other people, we discuss numbers and things like that. It's all a mix, which is why a lot of people who go through homeschooling are more prepared for college and for for the workplace for this very reason discussed in the previous video, right? So, just a big tip here, right, when it comes to curriculum is do not be afraid not to follow the pace of the curriculum, especially if you need to take more time to master previous lessons. This is especially true for math. When it comes to math, a lot of people, a lot of students get traumatized because they move on, in the regular classroom setting before they've mastered the previous one, and now they feel very confused, right? But math, I shouldn't be like that. Adjust in any way and spend more time on your child's strengths. This is going to be true for a lot of people who have neurodivergent children here, right? If you're doing all the academic stuff and all of the things that your child is weak at all the time, you're not building their confidence. You want to build on their strengths. In this case as well, consistency far outweighs speed. You can start with honestly just 10 minutes per day of homeschooling, and you would do fine. Once you get the rhythm of it, once you understand how to complete all of those requirements within 1 quarter, once you see that they're learning, you will know the pace that works for you and your child the best. Okay. When it comes to book choices, we have a default list given by Pilgrim Learning Center, but you can use any book that's appropriate towards the Matatag curriculum that you have easy access to, like I said, via AI and the like, right? So you can simply refer to the book choices that we have, right? But you can also look for your preferences. My personal choice is to go to Scribd because I like using free resources, and Scribd has a very minimal subscription fee of 100 pesos per month, and I get to access a lot of documents, a lot of worksheets, a lot of textbooks. So from kid to high school, and even books that I use for my own profession, right? Some of the children's books that I would recommend, especially for the future, we're going to do a video as well on reading in the future, and reading is one of the most important skills, if not the most important skill, that your child could learn to be an independent homeschooler. Some of my favorite publishers include St. Matthew's Publishing, so they publish textbooks, but they also have an imprint, which is Kahel Press. I'm biased because this is the brand that published my 2 children's books on pet care. But I also want to promote Adarna House and Hias because they do have a lot of stories. Just make sure when you pick a story, you read it first, so you know that you're teaching the right values. Because these come from a wide different varieties and age appropriateness when it comes to books from Adarna House. I also want to credit that books that you buy here are you can order them via Lazada, via Shopee. You can buy them on National Bookstore, and they both have an English version of the story in these books, and they have a Filipino version of these stories, which is going to be important later on for many of you here in teaching Filipino, which we'll also have a video on, of course. Some of the Christian, brands I like would be Generations, okay, as well as The Good and the Beautiful, which you see here. The Good and Beautiful technically comes from the Mormon Church, but some of the books that they have, especially in the early years for subject material, are really, really well made. And there's not a lot of curricular difference, especially for a lot of you here who come from the same faith as I do, which is born again Christianity. Okay, so that's it for book choices. Okay, some other pre-work to do. First and foremost, you want to set up your physical environment to be conducive to your specific situation and your child, right? I know that some of you live in a house, an apartment with relatives, in a condominium, right? And everybody's situation is going to be a little bit different. But when it comes to neurodivergent students, some of the critical things that we need to be mindful of, number one is managing the stimulation levels. Generally, physical activity and sleep, at least 8 hours of sleep and moderate physical activity, right, will help your child be more regulated and be more focused. While, gadgets, which usually is a good thing to do as a reward, by the end of the day, not before a homeschool setup, will definitely affect your child's focus because these gadgets will spike their dopamine, right? And if their dopamine is spiked, it's harder for them to focus on something that's less stimulating. So if you have, for example, personally, I do have a homeschool setup here that's not always well set up, to be honest with you, but we do have a space. Thank God for that is dedicated to me homeschooling my kids. All right. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about scheduling. No, when you schedule something, use this schedule that I've sent here as a reference. Notice that there's no, time to time. As you can see, this is so, for me, if math takes 30 minutes, if math takes an hour, then it takes 30 minutes or it takes an hour. So I don't really set like a time for it. When you're first scheduling, ease into it. Don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. Okay, just start with maybe working on a book, working on this, getting a feel of the rhythm between you and your child, right? So any form of starting is already a big victory, I think, right? Okay, when it comes to specifics again of your family, we'll talk about it in our session, right? Remember as well that consistency is better than perfection. Even 15 to 20 minutes a day initially is enough. And again, just like with what I mentioned, integrate your child as much as possible into things you are doing. If you're an accountant, bring him to the office. If you're a doctor, bring them into the clinic. Give them something to do. Bring their materials with you, right? If you have a restaurant, bring them into the restaurant. And whatever it is that you're doing on a daily basis, integrate your child as much as possible, right? Okay. So that's basically it for starting homeschool. I hope that this video will help you start, and we'll see you in the sessions as well as in our other videos. All right.